Here we go again. I said it already that a lot of episodes going forward are going to be about contracts because there's three big contracts that Cincinnati have to get done this season. Obviously, the biggest of them it being Jamar Chase signing the greatest wide receiver in the NFL, but that's pretty much a foregone conclusion that he will be signed. There's two guys that are in the air, Trey Hendrickson, edge, and then obviously the other wide receiver, T. Higgins. It's looking like, from reports, it looks like Trey Hendrickson is pretty much most likely getting an extension, and then T. Higgins is that coin flip that we don't know about, but new reports have come out today about both of them, so I'm going to be doing a deep dive into both of their contracts, what they said, what are people saying, what their contracts are looking like right now as it sits. And from both of their agents expect to hear stuff soon about what is going to happen. Before I jump in, first of all, that's beautiful. That is exactly 90 and 10, but I would rather be flipped. Let's get it to 90% of you are subscribed and 10% of you are not subscribed. Actually, let's get it to 100% of you are subscribed. So if you're watching this video, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. We are almost at 600 already. Literally last night when I recorded, we were at almost 500. And now tonight, we're almost at 600. So thank you guys so much. Keep commenting. I love the comments, replying to all of you guys. Thank you so much. But let's jump right into the video because I know you guys don't like me wasting time. Obviously, first, let's talk about Mr. Trey Hendrickson. I don't have to go into a deep dive of how valuable he is to Cincinnati. Obviously, he is the most valuable player on the defensive side and one of the most influential players on the entire roster. And even Joe Burrow said it best. You can't let guys like him walk away from the organization. Recently, today, Trey Hendrickson was on the Pat McAfee show, and they were asking him about the contract, if he wants to stay in Cincinnati, and all that kind of stuff. So let me go over exactly what he said on there. So this is what he said on the Pat McAfee show. He said, the goal is to win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati. What that looks like this season, if it's something we can agree on in terms, that would be great. So Trey Hendrickson on the Pat McAfee show said he and his wife would love to stay in Cincinnati. He wants to stay in Cincinnati. But then he went on to say, if it's something that helps the Bengals win a Super Bowl by getting picks or anything like that, I want to help Cincinnati win a Super Bowl whether I'm there or not. So let me translate this for you. Basically, he is saying, pay me or trade me, and he wants to find out fast. This is a report coming from the Cincinnati Bengals on Sports Illustrated. Trey Hendrickson's agent planning to meet with Bengals to discuss long-term extension this next week. This is coming from Charlie Clifford from WLWT in Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson's agent, Harold Lewis, tells WLWT he expects to meet with the Bengals as early as next week. At that point, there will be clarity whether this moves toward an extension or a trade. The ultimate goal is to make him a Bengal for the long term. That is a quote from Harold Lewis, Trey Hendrickson's agent. His agent knows he wants to stay in Cincinnati, and Trey Hendrickson knows his wife and him both want to stay in Cincinnati. Hendrickson, who to this point has spent this offseason in Cincinnati, is gearing up for 2025 out of town while this all plays out. So, Trey Hendrickson wants to stay in Cincinnati, but he also knows the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati. And he's even said, if that's trading me, basically what he's saying is, if that's trading me to get multiple picks to help you build a roster, then he would love to do that. He wants to win a Super Bowl for Cincinnati, whether he's there or not. And that's literally his words. But it's quite obvious what Trey Hendrickson wants. He's saying either pay me or trade me. And it's looking like now that Harold Lewis, his agent, Hendrickson agent, is going to meet with Cincinnati. It's looking like very soon, maybe even in the next week, next week or two, we will be finding out exactly what is going to look like Trey Hendrickson's future. Trey Hendrickson said later on in the Pat McAfee show he doesn't want to go through 2025 not knowing what's going to happen because it's going to be drawn out. It's going to be stressful. He doesn't want to deal with that for an entire football season. He doesn't want to go into 2025 not having an extension or being traded. He's saying either pay me now, give me an extension now, or trade me. He also talked about a little bit how he was a little bit, what's the right word, discomforted or a little taken back by Duke Tobin's words in an interview where he said, basically, you can't have the highest paid played player in every position on your team, which isn't incorrect, but Trey Hendrickson said he didn't like how it was handled. The fact that he found out from his dad, his dad sent him a tweet of what Duke Tobin said. So he was kind of complaining about the lack of communication the front office in Cincinnati has, which should come to no surprise for us Bengals fans. That has been a common denominator in all of the long-term trades. But Trey Hendrickson, it's simple. He wants to either get extended, pay me, or trade me. That's all you have to know about Trey Hendrickson. That's going to be the news coming out in the next 2 weeks. Either we're paying him or we're trading him. That's what we're expecting. Next, T. Higgins. Obviously, T. Higgins, I've talked about it at length. Once again, one of the most valuable players on offense, but also one of the most valuable players on the entire roster. This report is also coming from Cincinnati Sports Illustrated, but they are looking deep into Spotrac, which contract analyst breaks down T. Higgins' next contract in multiple ways. So his name is Michael Giannetti, and he broke down in depth at what the contract T. Higgins is going to look like. They have like a formula and a system where they put in all their stats and the playing time, everything, to see what the contract should look like. I'm going to go through every single one of those. Here we go. Giannetti. Here we go. The math hasn't been kind to Higgins as he approaches his first monster payday. A combination of time missed, obviously injuries, drops, and a 4-catch, 65-yard per game average over the past 2 seasons keep the overall price point somewhat tempered. At the time of this piece, the calculated value of T. Higgins' contract, according to our system, clocks in at 4 years, $102 million. Fortunately for Higgins, there are plenty of other factors in play that will certainly amplify these figures. Jimmy thinks that's a long shot. Higgins stays on an extension, and the numbers bear that out, especially if he rightfully wants to fall in line with prior receiver numbers over the past few seasons. So, Giannetti, he was basically saying with their system over at Spotrac, or SpotRack, they're saying with their system, it's with the stats and the numbers of T. Higgins, he's looking at a deal about 4 years, $120 million, which is it's about $27 million, which is not exactly what analysts expected T. Higgins to make. It's 25.5. I was doing quick math. 25.5 per year is what their system projected T. Higgins to make. That is lower than most analysts and GMs thought T. Higgins would make this contract. And let's go on. It's not inconceivable that the Bengals simply agreed to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this spring. However, this scenario should be considered highly unlikely for now, Giannetti wrote. Chase has the resume to completely reset this position's financial market, currently set at $35 million per year, $110 million guaranteed, thanks to Justin Jefferson. So, where would Higgins fit under this? Two teams have recently locked in their top 2 wide receivers at 2 big-time contracts. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in Miami, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. While Brown maxed out, Smith secured 9.8% of the cap last year on his $25 million per year extension. If we adjust that to a projected $275 million league salary cap in 2025, that would mean a deal right around $27 million per year for Higgins for a 4-year, $108 million extension, which is lower than the GMs and analysts were expecting Higgins to make. If we could get T. Higgins to agree to a 4-year, $108 million extension for $27 million a year, I'm taking that. I would think that would be a huge one for Cincinnati. A lot of you guys commenting had actually really good ideas where you have Jamar Chase, or either T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, earning most of their money in the first years of the contract and then less money in the latter years of the contract, and then the other earning less money in the beginning but most of the money in the later years of the contract, what I think would be smart. There is multiple ways to form a contract. It doesn't have to be $27 million a year. You could pay him half of that the first 2 years and then double it the next 2 years if it's a 4-year extension. there's a lot of different ways you can format a contract to make it work, to have Jamar Chase and both T. Higgins on the same roster. And I think it's what Cincinnati should be trying to do. I'll keep on reading. Smith also secured 68% of his new money as guaranteed. For Higgins, this would mean $74 million, a big number for a number 2, but the precedent that one of the best teams in football has now set. Waddle, by the way, secured $76 million practically guaranteed on his 3-year, $85 million extension in Miami. In other words, a figure around $75 million isn't out of bounds for T. Higgins going forward. It is $108 over the next 4 years, $75 million practically guaranteed, enough to keep T's from hitting the open market this March. It would be shocking to see the Bengals guarantee that much money for their number 2 receiver option. Crazier things have happened, though, and they will have to get close to that unless Higgins is willing to leave a bunch of dough on the table. So, with this format, Spotrac's system and how they figure out the contracts, they're looking like T. Higgins would need a 4-year, $108 million deal with $75 million guaranteed, which I think would be a win for Cincinnati. Like this article is saying, or report is saying, they don't see Cincinnati guaranteeing that much money for their wide receiver 2, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and Cincinnati is desperate for a Super Bowl. They are in win now mode, and you have to do what you have to do to keep your best roster on the roster, or best players on the roster. And if T. Higgins, if he accepts a 4-year, $108 million deal for $27 a year, I think that's a win for Cincinnati personally. This is the latter part of it, but this is now what Cincinnati expects him to secure in the open market. Cincinnati expects him to secure an open market deal looking like 4 years, $124 million, with $74.25 million guaranteed. Then again, Cincinnati can throw a wrench in all of this and just franchise tag him again for $26 million. So, yes, if you don't know T. Higgins, Cincinnati has the option to franchise tag T. Higgins again. And then it comes down to T. Higgins deciding if he just wants to sit out the year or play for $26 million. And then have another renegotiation after the 2025 season. I don't think that would be fair to T. Higgins. I think the only way we franchise tag him if we're going to trade him. I think if we see T. Higgins is franchise tagged again, look for a trade coming very soon. I don't think they would tag him and then sign him. That makes no sense. So if you see a franchise tag, expect him to be traded T. Higgins. But if Cincinnati can come to a deal with T. Higgins, that's 4 years, $108 million, $27 million a year. I think that's a win for Cincinnati. I think that would be a win for T. Higgins. Obviously, I think he could make more in free agency. I think teams would be willing to pay him a lot more, like a 4-year, $125 million contract, because they're desperate for wide receiver help. But Cincinnati, T. Higgins has said that one of his biggest goals, or not goals, but biggest considerations in this deal is the fact that he's playing with the best quarterback in the league, the best wide receiver in the league, and playing with those two players makes him better, and it gives him the best option at being the best that he can be. And he wants to be on a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. Most likely, if he goes to free agency, the teams that are going to be going after him are teams that are in a rebuild. I don't think T. Higgins wants to go to a rebuild. He wants to be on a team that can consistently make a run for the Super Bowl. And I think Cincinnati is that, or at least should be that with the roster that they have. So, very soon, expect news on Trey Hendrickson. Expect if we're going to pay him or trade him. Obviously, the answer should be pay him. If we don't extend Trey Hendrickson and let him go or trade him, unless we trade him, get a monster trade with multiple picks, I would also probably prefer an edge rusher in that trade, at least for depth. It would be a complete disaster for the Cincinnati Bengals defense if we let Trey Hendrickson leave the city of Cincinnati. I think it would be a complete disaster and waste. And then also coming up in the next few weeks, expect news for T. Higgins, whether we're extending him, and I think we will extend him. Hopefully we extend him. Obviously, I know nothing. I'm not an insider. I'm just saying my personal feelings. I think Tobin knows, and the front office knows how valuable T. Higgins is. And I think they want to make Joe Burrow happy, and to make Joe Burrow happy, you sign the players he wants to sign, and that includes Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. So give the quarterback what he wants. But thank you so much for watching this Bengals Digest channel. Like, once again, a bunch of the videos probably going forward will be about contracts. It's the offseason, and this is the most pivotal offseason in Cincinnati Bengals history. So there will be probably a lot of contract videos coming up soon. But before I leave, don't forget to subscribe to the Bengals Digest channel. Let's get that up to 50-50. I would be happy with that, but we're on the road to 1,000. I think we can get it before the end of February. We're already almost 100 gained subscribers in one day, and I can't thank you enough. It means so much to me, and I appreciate it so much. Truly, truly, truly. Comment down below what you think we should do with the contracts with Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. Like this video, share it with your friends, because Cincinnati football is better together. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Carson Lokey for the Bengals Digest channel. I'll see you next time.